Chapter 41. Inside the dungeon. Alex stands, pacing around the room. A dungeon would definitely attract monsters seeking strength, weapons, and skills. Monsters would be drawn to the challenge and the rewards. He stops in his tracks, eyes narrowing in thought. If there are no dungeons here, then I'll have to create one myself. A dungeon in Mizorn could turn the city into a beacon for monsters. Alex stops pacing, his eyes narrowing as he recalls his inventory. Let me check what I have. He mutters under his breath, his hand reaching out. The transparent screen flickers back to life, this time showing his inventory. He taps a few times, scrolling through the various items. I have a lot of low-tier dungeon blueprints, he says aloud. I just need to gather the resources to build one. He sees the blueprint for a low-tier dungeon. His eyes scan the required materials. To build this dungeon, I need 500 gold coins, and I have 800 right now. He raises an eyebrow, considering the amount. That should work. Though it costs 100 gold coins per day to operate, Gortha's kin can forge around 100 gold coins daily, plus the dungeon entrance fees. So I'll have more than enough. A few minutes later, Alex arrives at Mizorn City, standing at the edge of the gates. The once dilapidated city now shows signs of rebuilding, but there's still a noticeable emptiness in the streets. The city seems to be recovering, but not at the pace he expected. Soren, standing nearby, bows her head respectfully as he approaches. Your Majesty, she says with a faint smile. Alex looks around, taking in the state of the city. He then turns to Soren with a thoughtful expression. Didn't know you had such a talent for governing a city, Soren, he says, genuinely impressed. Soren tilts her head, a bit sheepish. I did my best, Your Majesty, but it's been difficult to convince the monsters to settle here. Alex sighs, shaking his head slightly. I see. Only a few monsters decided to stay. Soren nods. Yes, Your Majesty. Many of them prefer their own territories, and the idea of living in a city with so many different kinds of monster is uncomfortable for some. Alex gives her a reassuring smile. It's all right. This time, I'll make sure those monsters come running to the city. Soren looks up, her expression curious. How do you plan to do that, Your Majesty? Alex gives Soren a knowing smile, his eyes gleaming with confidence. You'll know soon enough. He then looks around, his gaze sharp. Soren, I want you to make sure no one comes to this area. Not a soul. Do you understand? Soren nods immediately. Of course, Your Majesty. I will make sure no one approaches. With that, Alex turns away and walks toward the designated area. His thoughts are laser-focused as he prepares for the task ahead. As he steps into the open space, he raises his hand, activating the system. The transparent screen flickers to life, and a series of holographic blueprints appear before him. With a quick command, the system begins to construct the dungeon. The ground trembles lightly as the structure takes shape. Within moments, a sturdy building materializes, resembling an ordinary stone structure. Nothing too grand, yet undeniably functional. Alex steps inside the newly constructed dungeon building. The interior is simple, plain stone walls, a few wooden tables, and a single receptionist desk positioned neatly in front of the portal. The only thing that stands out is the shimmering dungeon entrance itself, pulsing faintly with magical energy. The monster receptionist, the same metallic-skinned humanoid from before, bows slightly upon seeing him. Welcome, Your Majesty. It greets, its voice smooth and polite. Alex nods in acknowledgement, his gaze flickering toward the portal. Make the entrance fee 50 silver coins, he orders. The receptionist tilts its head slightly, processing the command. Understood, Your Majesty. The entrance fee is now set at 50 silver coins per entry. Alex crosses his arms, glancing around. The place is functional, but it still lacks the atmosphere of a true dungeon hub. That would change with time. Once word spreads, monsters and adventurers alike will flock here, drawn by the potential rewards within. Good, Alex murmurs, then turns back to the receptionist. Is everything else in place? Will the dungeon function properly for challengers? The receptionist nods. Yes, Your Majesty. The dungeon is fully operational. Creatures suitable for its tier have already been assigned within. Would you like to inspect the layout personally? Alex considers the offer for a moment before nodding. Let's do that, he says, his curiosity piqued. His gaze flickers to the receptionist. What's your name? The metallic-skinned receptionist straightens slightly. Lathe, Your Majesty. Alex nods in acknowledgement. All right, Lathe. Without another word, he steps forward, his eyes fixed on the shimmering portal. The magic hums softly, its surface rippling like disturbed water. Without hesitation, he steps through. A moment later, Alex finds himself standing in a dimly lit cave. The air is damp, and the faint echo of dripping water fills the silence. Stalagmites and jagged rocks protrude from the ground, giving the place an eerie, almost foreboding atmosphere. Alex narrows his eyes, scanning his surroundings. The dungeon feels oddly familiar yet different from the usual monster-filled lairs. His senses remain sharp as he takes a cautious step forward, expecting an ambush at any moment. Then he sees them.
Humans.
Scattered throughout the cave, groups of armored warriors, thieves, and lightly dressed scouts move with purpose, as if preparing for battle. Some are sharpening their swords, others tending to wounds, and a few are even eating around makeshift campfires. They look like adventurers, mercenaries, and rogue fighters, but their presence here feels unnatural. Yet not a single one acknowledges him. Alex frowns, stepping closer. A swordsman in rusted armor walks past him, eyes fixed ahead as if Alex isn't even there. Another, a thieves muttering under his breath, barely blinks in his direction. As expected, they don't see me. Alex murmurs, intrigued. He raises a hand, waving it in front of a passing rogue's face. Nothing. No reaction. Chapter 42. A chest with magical items. Alex continues deeper into the dungeon, observing the human enemies that populate it. Just like in the game, neither he nor his subordinates can challenge the dungeons within his own kingdom. It was a restriction meant to prevent players from farming their own resources. After navigating through winding tunnels, Alex finally reaches a larger cavern, dimly lit by flickering torches. At the center of the room sits a large, rugged-looking man on a throne made of scavenged wood and bones. Around him, several women, captives or willing followers, Alex isn't sure, serve him food and pour wine into his goblet. Alex narrows his eyes. So this dungeon's theme is a bandit stronghold, he thinks to himself. The setup is familiar. A chaotic base where bandits gather, plundering the weak, and a leader who reigns over them like a self-proclaimed king. His gaze shifts to the bandit leader. The system immediately provides his details. Bandit leader, level 330. Level 300, huh? Alex muses. That should be more than enough for the monsters living in the forest to fight against. With that, he turns around and exits the dungeon. Back in the dungeon entrance hall, Alex strides toward the exit, his mind already forming plans. Back at Soren's quarter, she stands waiting, her expression calm but curious. Come with me, Alex says simply. Soren tilts her head but follows without hesitation. The two of them make their way back into the dungeon building. As soon as they step inside, Soren's eyes immediately lock onto the shimmering portal in the center of the room. Her pupils narrow slightly in surprise. Your Majesty, she says, her voice laced with awe. What is that? Alex crosses his arms and smirks. A dungeon. Soren frowns slightly, staring at the shimmering portal. A dungeon? She repeats, her voice laced with confusion. What is a dungeon? Alex's smirk widens. You'll know after you go in. Soren gives him a wary glance but ultimately nods. Without hesitation, she steps forward, her body passing through the rippling light. The world shifts. In an instant, Soren finds herself standing in a dimly lit cave. The air is damp, carrying the faint scent of blood and burning wood. Flickering torchlight casts eerie shadows on the jagged rock walls. Her ears twitch at the sound of voices, low, rough murmurs echoing through the cavern. Her instincts take over. Without thinking, she melts into the shadows, activating her stealth. Her body becomes one with the darkness, her presence vanishing from sight. Carefully, she moves toward the source of the voices. She peeks from behind a stalagmite and stiffens at what she sees. A pair of rugged-looking men dressed in tattered armor, their weapons strapped to their sides. One has a crude sword resting on his lap, while the other sharpens a dagger against a whetstone. Soren's eyes narrow.
Humans.
Here? She thinks, her mind racing. And why am I in a cave? A dozen questions swirl in her mind, but she pushes them aside. This is not the time to hesitate. She moves. Like a whisper of death, she glides forward. Before the men can react, her dagger slices through the first one's throat. A wet gurgle escapes his lips as he collapses, eyes wide in shock. The second man barely has time to turn his head before Soren's blade plunges into his chest. He gasps, his body jerking as she twists the weapon, ensuring a swift kill. Silence falls over the cavern once more. Soren exhales softly, pulling her blade free. She wipes the blood off on the dead man's tunic, her mind still buzzing with questions. What is this place? She murmurs under her breath. And why are humans here? In Soren's mind, Alex would never push her to her death. Whatever this place was, there had to be a reason for her being here. That thought alone was enough to push her forward. She moves silently through the cavern, keeping to the shadows as she explores deeper. The more she sees, the clearer the picture becomes. More humans. Groups of them scattered throughout the cave. Some drinking, some counting stolen goods, others sharpening weapons. Crude wooden furniture, makeshift tents, and storage crates fill the space. Soren narrows her eyes. This looks like a bandit base. The realization makes her grip her dagger tighter. So this was their hideout. If that was the case, then this was a perfect hunting ground. As she continues further, her eyes catch something unusual. A wooden chest tucked into the corner of a side chamber. Her curiosity piqued, she approaches cautiously. A chest? She murmurs, kneeling in front of it. Let's see if there's anything useful inside. With practiced ease, she lifts the lid. Inside, instead of gold or weapons, she finds a single item resting on the dark wood, a ring. Soren blinks. A ring. She picks it up, turning it between her fingers. It's simple, unadorned, and slightly worn, yet something about it feels different. That's it? She mutters, tilting her head. Just a ring. It seems too underwhelming to be locked away in a chest. The moment the ring settles in place, a faint sensation washes over her. Her body feels lighter, more fluid, as if the very air around her is giving way to her movements with less resistance. She flexes her fingers, then shifts her stance experimentally. A subtle difference, but it's there. Her eyes widen slightly. I feel faster? She glances down at the ring, now resting snugly on her finger. What she doesn't realize is that the ring grants +3 agility. A small smirk tugs at her lips. Interesting. Whatever this dungeon was, it was full of surprises. Soren presses forward, her movements silent as a shadow gliding through the dimly lit tunnels. She keeps her senses sharp, scanning the area for more loot or useful weapons. But unlike before, no more chests appear. The winding corridors stretch endlessly, littered with crates and stolen goods, yet none of them seem interactable. A frown tugs at her lips. Strange. That chest from earlier had an item inside. But now, nothing? Chapter 43. The Boss versus Soren. Her gaze shifts to a fallen bandit, his sword still clutched in his stiffening hand. Practical thought crosses her mind. Why not take their weapons? She crouches beside the corpse and reaches for the sword's hilt. It doesn't budge. Soren's brows furrow. She tightens her grip and pulls harder, but the weapon remains stuck, as if welded to the ground. What? She mutters under her breath. She tries another body. This one had a dagger strapped to his belt. But no matter how much she pulls, it refuses to come loose. It's as if the weapons are mere props, part of the environment, and not something she can claim. A cold realization washes over her. So I can't loot them? This place is weird. Her lips press into a thin line. She doesn't understand the logic behind it, but standing around won't give her answers. Pushing the thought aside, she continues deeper into the cave. The air grows heavier, tinged with the stench of sweat, alcohol, and something rotten. The flickering torches along the walls barely push back the darkness, casting eerie, dancing shadows. Then, she hears it boisterous laughter. She slows her steps, pressing herself against the rough stone wall as she approaches the source of the noise. Peeking around the corner, her sharp eyes take in the scene before her. A large cavern opens up before her, wider than any of the previous tunnels. At its center sits a figure on a makeshift throne of wood and bones. His muscles bulge beneath his ragged cloak, scars crisscrossing his exposed arms. A great sword rests beside him, the metal gleaming dully in the low light. Surrounding him are more bandits, some sprawled across wooden benches, others drinking straight from barrels of stolen ale. A handful of women linger close, refilling cups and tending to the leader's every whim. Soren's grip tightens on her dagger. Her golden eyes flicker, analyzing the scene. The way the others glance at him, the way no one dares speak too loudly in his presence. There's no doubt. This man holds authority here. Soren steadies her breathing, pressing deeper into the shadows, her eyes locked on the bandit leader. He is larger up close, his presence exuding a primal dominance that makes the other bandits unconsciously shrink before him. Just as she prepares to move, his head suddenly snaps in her direction. A slow, toothy grin spreads across his scarred face. "Oh!" His deep, gravelly voice rumbles through the cavern. "Looks like we have a little mouse hiding in the dark." Soren's breath stills.
Impossible.
Her stealth is perfect. She hadn't made a sound, and none of the other bandits had noticed her. How did he see me? Realizing she's been exposed, she steps forward, letting the shadows peel away from her form. Her eyes remain locked onto the leader, scanning him for any hint of how he detected her. The bandit leader leans forward on his throne, his grin widening. "Although I can't see your figure under that robe," he says, inhaling deeply, "I can smell that delicious fragrance your body is emitting." Soren's expression hardens, but she remains silent. The four bandits jerk in surprise. One of them, a scruffy-looking man with a chipped tooth, furrows his brows. "Boss, are you sure it's a woman?" he asks skeptically. The leader chuckles, his tongue running over his teeth. "Oh, I'm sure." He lifts his hand lazily and gestures forward. "Go and capture her. I'll have my fill first. Then the rest of you can take turns." The bandits exchange eager grins before turning their predatory gazes toward Soren. But Soren doesn't flinch. If anything, she tilts her head slightly, her lips curling into something cold, something that sends a chill down their spines before they even take their first step. A quiet chuckle escapes Soren's lips, barely more than a breath. "This is good," she muses. "This human is too cocky." Her golden eyes flicker over the four underlings advancing toward her. She instantly assesses their strength. Tier 2 warriors, level 200 plus. She is a Tier 3 assassin, level 300 plus. A hunter of the dark. The moment they step toward her, they have already lost. The first bandit lunges, his blade gleaming under the dim torchlight. His movements are fast for a human but predictable. Soren doesn't move until the last second, her body shifting just enough to let the attack pass through empty air. Then she strikes. A single twist of her wrist, a flash of silver. The bandit gasps, his eyes widening as his throat opens in a crimson smile. He stumbles back, clutching at his neck, gurgling as blood spills between his fingers. The second one reacts immediately, swinging a heavy axe toward her side. Soren sidesteps, her cloak billowing as the axe crashes into the stone floor with a deafening crack. Before the wielder can recover, she moves, her dagger sinking into the gap between his shoulder and neck. His body stiffens, his breath hitching. Soren yanks the blade free, spinning around him like a wraith, and slashes across his exposed side. The man crumples, a ragged cry escaping his lips before he collapses. The remaining two hesitate. Shit! She's too fast. One of them hisses. Surround her, the other shouts. They rush her at once, one from the left, the other from the right. Soren lets them come. The moment they enter her range, she vanishes. For a heartbeat, there is nothing. No sound. No presence. Then, a blur. Soren reappears behind the one on the right. He barely has time to widen his eyes before her dagger pierces the base of his skull. He drops instantly, his body limp before he even registers the pain. The last bandit stumbles back in terror. Monster! He breathes, his hands trembling. He turns on his heel, ready to run. A cold hand grabs the back of his head. Soren yanks him down, her knee slamming into his face with a sickening crunch. Bone shatters. Blood sprays. He collapses at her feet, groaning weakly before the darkness claims him. Chapter 44. Silver Chest. Silence falls over the cavern. Soren exhales softly, flicking her wrist to shake the blood from her blade. The fight lasted mere seconds. The bodies around her lay still, their blood pooling against the cold stone floor. She lifts her gaze. The bandit leader remains seated on his throne, his grin unfazed, his eyes gleaming with amusement. He chuckles. Now this, he murmurs, is interesting. Soren doesn't hesitate. She vanishes. A sharp gust rustles the torches as she reappears behind the bandit leader, her dagger aimed for his neck in a killing strike. Clang! A massive arm swings back, his great sword blocking her blade in a shower of sparks. Fast. The leader muses, his grin widening as he twists his grip and shoves her back. But predictable. Soren flips midair, landing lightly on her feet. Her golden eyes narrow. She has fought countless foes, but his reaction speed was unnatural. Before she can reposition, he retaliates. Titan Fong. His great sword blurs, its weight multiplying as it descends toward her like a falling mountain. Soren moves. Shadow step. She flickers out of existence, appearing just beyond his reach. The stone where she once stood explodes, jagged cracks splitting the cavern floor. I need to be careful not to get hit. She lunges again, her daggers glowing with Night Piercer, a skill that ignores armor and strikes directly at vital points. The leader reacts instantly. Steel Fortress. A faint shimmer envelopes his body, and Soren's blades scrape uselessly against his skin as if striking solid iron. He laughs. An assassin with weak strikes? Disappointing. His counter is brutal. He swings the flat of his blade toward her midsection, aiming to crush her ribs. Soren bends backward, the wind of the strike rushing past her face. She kicks off the ground, flipping over the blade's path. In mid-air, she vanishes again. She reappears at his side, her leg whipping out in a precise arc. Phantom Fong. Her heel slams into his temple, the force amplified by her skill. The impact reverberates through the cavern, sending a shockwave outward. The bandit leader stumbles, his grin faltering for the first time. Soren lands, adjusting her stance. Not bad for a brute. The leader straightens, rolling his neck. The skin where she struck him is bruised, but he looks more amused than angry. Not bad for a rat. They stare at each other for a heartbeat. Then they move. The cavern erupts into chaos. Soren disappears into the shadows, striking from unpredictable angles. The leader swings with monstrous strength, tearing through stone and air alike. Every clash sends shockwaves rippling through the cavern, embers dancing in the torchlight. They are evenly matched, but Soren knows she only needs one perfect strike. The fight stretches on for a full minute, each exchange a deadly blur of motion. Soren darts through the shadows, striking from every angle. Yet, each time the bandit leader either blocks, dodges, or counters with terrifying precision. Damn. This human has good reflexes. She hides now, her breathing slow, her presence erased by stealth. Her golden eyes flicker from the darkness, observing. The bandit leader stands in the open, great sword resting on his shoulder, his grin still there, but now there's something sharper behind it. Running already? He taunts, his voice echoing through the cavern. He closes his eyes and takes a deep breath. Come on. You can't hide from me forever. Soren grits her teeth. It's not just his reaction speed. He has an unnatural sense, almost like an animal tracking its prey. If this keeps up, he'll wear her down. She needs to end this. Silently, she grips her dagger, activating her Tier 3 skill. Abyss Fang. A suffocating stillness fills the air. The shadows around her deepen, stretching unnaturally, twisting toward her as if drawn to something primal. Her blade drinks in the darkness, turning void black, its edge humming with lethal intent. Her presence vanishes completely. The bandit leader's eyes widen slightly. His instincts scream at him.
Danger.
He moves too late. Soren reappears behind him, her blade already plunging toward his exposed back. He spins, swinging his greatsword wildly. But Abyss Fang ignores defense. Her dagger pierces his side, sinking deep. A black ripple spreads from the wound, devouring his protection, bypassing his steel fortress. Gah! The leader staggers, his body locking up. His muscles tremble, his limbs sluggish. Abyss Fang doesn't just pierce the body. It devours movement. Soren doesn't hesitate. She pivots, twisting the blade, and in the same motion slashes upward. A dark arc of energy erupts from the strike. The bandit leader's body jerks violently. Blood sprays. His greatsword slips from his fingers, crashing to the ground. His legs give out and he drops to his knees. His breath comes ragged now. He clutches his wound, his grin gone, replaced by something between shock and laughter? Heh heh, not bad, he rasps. I actually lost. Soren watches him, dagger still in hand. Then she moves. A final blur. Her dagger flashes, and the bandit leader's body slumps to the ground, unmoving. Silence. Soren exhales, rolling her shoulders as the shadows retreat from her form. The skill fades, the eerie pressure lifting from the cavern. She flicks the blood from her dagger, stepping over the corpse. Just as she turns to leave, a voice echoes inside her head. Congratulations on clearing the dungeon. Please proceed to the reward. You will be teleported out shortly after claiming it. Soren freezes. Her eyes dart around the cavern, her body tense. What the? She tightens her grip on her dagger, scanning the shadows. No movement, no presence. Yet, the voice was clear as day, reverberating inside her skull. The voice in my head just said something about a reward, she mutters, her brows furrowing. Her instincts scream at her. She doesn't like unseen forces dictating her actions. But there's no immediate threat. Her gaze sweeps across the cavern. That's when she sees it. At the center of the room, a silver-colored chest shimmers faintly, as if appearing from nowhere. Chapter 45. Openg of the Dungeon, Part 1. Her eyes narrow. That chest wasn't there before. Soren approaches cautiously, her steps silent, her body poised to react. When she gets close, she stops, staring down at the ornate engravings on its surface. She exhales through her nose. This better not be a trap. Soren crouches beside the chest, running a hand over the cool metal. No visible locks.
No había straps.
But that doesn't mean it's safe. She presses her lips into a thin line, then swiftly lifts the lid. A soft glow illuminates her face. Inside, nestled on a black velvet cloth, are two daggers. They are unlike any she has seen before. Midnight black with silver etchings that pulse faintly, as if alive. The air around them hums with power. Soren hesitates only a moment before reaching in. The moment her fingers wrap around the hilts, a rush of information slams into her mind. Her vision blurs. Her breath catches. It's not pain, but the sheer force of it leaves her momentarily stunned. Words. Symbols. A skill. A Tier 3 skill. Her eyes widen as the knowledge settles, as natural as if she had known it all her life. Slowly, she exhales. This dagger has a tier 3 skill, she whispers. Her voice is barely audible, but in the vast silence of the cavern, it feels deafening. She stares at the weapons in her hands, her fingers tightening around them. She only has one tier 3 skill, Abyss Fang. And even that, her heart beats faster. She almost died getting it. The memory flickers, breaking into that nobleman's estate, slipping past powerful guards, barely making it out alive. She almost got killed for Abyss Fang. Yet now, she swallows hard. Soren takes a shaky breath, trying to steady the thoughts racing through her mind. It's not just the tier 3 skill. The daggers themselves, they're high quality. She lifts one, studying its edge. The craftsmanship is leagues beyond anything she has wielded before. The weight, the balance, it feels like an extension of her own hand. Her grip tightens. If I had these earlier, she mutters, voice tinged with frustration, I could have stabbed that bastard without a problem. She exhales sharply, shaking off the thought. No use dwelling on what-ifs. Just as she's about to test the blade, a soft hum fills the air. Blinding white light engulfs her, swallowing everything. Soren tenses, instinctively raising her daggers, but the sensation is weightless, like being pulled through space itself. Then, a blink. The air shifts. She finds herself standing in a familiar place. The stone floor beneath her feet, the faint scent of parchment, steel, and something distinctly regal. She's back. Her eyes snap up and sure enough, there he is. Alex stands before her, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. Soren exhales sharply, still gripping the daggers. Her mind reels from the sudden shift, but she forces the confusion down. Soren takes a step forward, her grip on the daggers loosening slightly. Her eyes flick around, confirming that she is indeed back. After a brief pause, she exhales. I'm back, Your Majesty. Alex nods, as if her return was expected. You must have a lot of questions. His voice is steady, measured. I'll explain it to you. Soren listens in silence as he begins. That place you were in, it's called a dungeon. She furrows her brows slightly, still gripping her weapons. A dungeon? She repeats. Alex nods. Yes. And the human bandits inside? They weren't real people. Soren's expression shifts, a flicker of surprise crossing her usually composed features. That's impossible. Alex smirks slightly. I know it feels real. The fights, the blood, the pain. It's all designed to be that way. But the moment you left, everything inside reset. The bandits will come back, the chests will close, and someone else will have the chance to go through it all over again. Soren's grip on her new daggers tightens. A place where enemies revive. Alex chuckles. It's a perfect hunting ground. Soren gives him a sharp look but says nothing. Listen, Alex continues, his tone turning serious. We're going to open this dungeon to the public. It will attract those monsters to settle in the city. Soren tilts her head. That's right. The monster are too proud to live in the same place as other monsters. And because only the citizens can use the dungeon, Alex explains. They need to become a citizen of Mizorn City. They'll have access to a place where they can get items. Who wouldn't want that? His smirk widens. Who wouldn't want the chance to kill humans while also getting stronger and collecting weapons and items? She lowers her head slightly. As you wish, Your Majesty. A thought crosses her mind, and she lifts her gaze again. Can I ask? Are all the weapons and items I obtained real? Alex nods. They're real. Everything you bring out of the dungeon exists in the real world. But whether you get something good or not depends entirely on luck. He gives her a pointed look. And you? You were lucky. That dagger you got is high quality, and the ring boosts your agility. Soren frowns slightly. Agility? It makes you faster, Alex simplifies. Soren's expression shifts as realization dawns. After I put this ring on, I felt a little faster. Even if it was just a small change, I noticed it. Alex nods. That's agility for you. With enough of it, Even an average fighter can become fast enough to dodge attacks that should be impossible to avoid. Soren looks down at her hand, flexing her fingers as if testing the change again. Soren's expression turns serious. She lifts her gaze, her eyes locking onto his. Your Majesty, there's one problem. Go on. The leader of the bandits, Soren says, gripping her new daggers. He's strong, too strong. I don't think the monsters in this forest have the capability to kill him. Alex doesn't seem surprised. If anything, he looks amused. Don't worry, he says easily. Before anyone enters, the receptionist will give them an item that lets them teleport out of the dungeon, even if they don't defeat the leader. Chapter 46. Reviving a Subordinate. Soren said, You didn't give me one. Alex chuckles. Because I knew you could kill him. She exhales, shaking her head. You really put a lot of faith in me. Faith? Alex tilts his head. No. I just know what you're capable of. Soren studies him for a long moment before looking down at her weapons again. The weight of them, the hum of power beneath her fingertips. She had survived, yes, but it wasn't easy. And yet, despite the odds, she had won. She huffs a quiet laugh. I suppose I can't argue with that. Alex gives her one last smirk before turning away. I'll leave the rest to you. Soren watches as he exits, his footsteps fading into the corridor. She exhales, rolling her shoulders. The real work begins now. Over the next few days, Tolga, as she is known to the public, handles the dungeon's publicity. At first, skepticism runs rampant among the monsters of Mizorn City. A thing called dungeon where you can obtain weapons and items? It sounds absurd, a fairy tale. But curiosity wins out. One by one, monsters enter the dungeon. Some emerge victorious, clutching newfound treasures with disbelief and exhilaration. Others aren't so lucky. Some lose, some even die. But the allure of strength, the chance to wield power beyond their limits, proves irresistible. By the end of the week, nearly all 5,000 monsters in Mizorn have used the dungeon at least once. The city's atmosphere shifts. Monsters who once had no direction now have purpose. Those who were weak strive to become stronger. Those who were already strong seek to push their limits further. But it doesn't stop there. As the monsters of Mizorn go out to sell their weapons, armor, and loot in neighboring towns, they bring stories with them. The dungeon, the endless battles, the treasures waiting inside. At first, no one believes them. A dungeon where enemies resurrect? Where you can collect real items? Sounds like a lie. Yet the proof is undeniable. A goblin merchant slams a gleaming sword onto a wooden counter in a bustling market. This ain't just any blade, he boasts, grinning sharp-toothed. Got it from Mizorn's dungeon. Slaughtered a dozen bandits for it. Still sharp as hell. A towering ogre, arms crossed, scoffs. You expect me to believe that? Believe what you want. The goblin snorts, jingling a pouch heavy with gold. But only Mizorn citizens can enter. You ain't one of us. So, keep dreaming. Similar conversations spread like wildfire. Skeptical at first, monsters from various tribes start traveling to Mizorn, curious to see the truth for themselves. Some disguise their intentions, lingering on the city's outskirts, watching. Others are more direct, demanding entry, but they are turned away. Only citizens can enter the dungeon. Outsiders? They are forbidden. That exclusivity only fuels their desire. Slowly but surely, the wandering tribes, those without a true home, begin to settle in Mizorn. They swear loyalty, integrating into the city, bound by one shared goal: to grow stronger. Mizorn City is no longer a ghost city. It is becoming something far greater. A haven. A kingdom of monsters. Alex stands in his private chamber, his gaze fixed on the large chest overflowing with gold coins. The candlelight flickers, casting a warm glow over the shimmering treasure. Drea, standing beside him with her hands clasped in front of her, bows slightly. Your Majesty, this is all the gold coins they have collected. It has been stored in Mizorn City's treasury until now. Alex hums in acknowledgement, his sharp eyes scanning the wealth before him. Thank you, Drea. You can leave me for now. Drea bows once more before turning to leave, her steps silent as she exits the chamber. Once alone, Alex moves forward, placing his hand on the chest. A moment later, the entire chest vanishes, sucked into his palm as if absorbed into thin air. A soft chime echoes in his mind as his status updates. His gaze shifts inward, checking his inventory. Gold coins, 1,328,320. Alex smirks. Not bad, he mutters, but his expression darkens slightly as he leans back, arms crossed. Still, I'm sure that bastard, the former city lord, took most of it when he fled. Alex taps his fingers against the armrest of his chair, his eyes fixed on the glowing numbers in his status. 1,328,000 gold coins. A significant sum, but when it comes to resurrecting his subordinates, it's barely enough. He exhales through his nose, his fingers tightening slightly. With this much, which subordinate should I resurrect? The thought of reviving the soldiers crosses his mind. He could use the gold to bring back hundreds of soldiers, bolstering Mizorn City's defenses. But then, he shakes his head. No, what I need right now isn't numbers. It's power. His weakest personal subordinate, level 500, already costs 1,000,000 gold to resurrect. That alone tells him how absurd the cost of reviving his true elites must be. And right now, he only has level 500 Royal Guard at his disposal. That wouldn't do. His personal subordinates are in another league. A single one of them could take on 2 Royal Guards of the same level. Alex exhales and mentally pulls up the list of his fallen subordinates. Rows upon rows of names appear before him, each accompanied by a darkened portrait, a level, and the amount of gold required for resurrection. His gaze sweeps over the names, each one carrying the weight of a warrior lost in battle. These aren't just monsters. These are his monsters, the subordinates who once stood by his side, carving a path of destruction in his name. The first name catches his eye. Varkas the Crimson Fong, level 528. Resurrection cost, 102,000 gold. Alex's lips press together. Karnak, a massive lycanthrope with crimson fur and a towering physique. His strength alone could rival 3 royal guards, his razor-sharp claws able to slice through steel with ease. But his true strength lies in his blood frenzy, a skill that allows him to grow stronger the more he bleeds. Chapter 47, Varka's Resurrection. Once, he tore through an entire battalion of soldiers. But he wasn't just a brute, Varkas was cunning. A warrior who knew when to attack and when to retreat. Alex scrolls further. Valeth the Phantom Stalker, level 532. Resurrection cost, 105,000 gold. A wraith-like assassin, Valeth was a terror on the battlefield. His Shadow Meld ability allowed him to phase between the physical and ethereal realm, making him nearly impossible to track. He was the perfect killer, silent, precise, merciless. If Varkas was a beast of raw power, Valeth was the dagger in the dark. Gorik the Iron Hide, level 538. Resurrection cost, 112,000 gold. A towering minotaur clad in enchanted black iron. Gorik was a living fortress, his draconic armor skill making him nearly impervious to physical attacks. With a massive warhammer that could shatter mountains, he was the definition of an unstoppable force. In the last battle he fought, he held off a squadron of mages alone, crushing them before he finally fell. Scytha the Venom Queen, level 540. Resurrection cost, 120,000 gold. A Naga sorceress who commanded poison and illusions. Scytha was a nightmare to fight. Her serpent's mirage allowed her to create clones of herself, while her venom could melt through armor in seconds. Alex exhales slowly, leaning back. Even though their levels and prices differ, their actual strength isn't far apart. Varkas is raw destruction. Valeth is death in silence, Gorik is an indomitable shield, and Scytha is a nightmare given form. Any one of them would be a massive advantage. But Alex knows his priorities. If I pick Varkas, he muses, I can at least resurrect a squad of soldiers with the remaining gold. He taps his fingers against the armrest, considering the choice one last time. Karnak is strong, aggressive, and, most importantly, reliable. Unlike the others, he thrives in both solo battles and large-scale fights. With him back, Alex can enforce his rule more effectively, ensuring Mizorn's continued growth. All right then, Alex finally decides, his voice cutting through the silence. Let's do that. Without hesitation, he stands and activates his teleportation. Dark energy swirls around him, the air warping and twisting before. Boom! In an instant, he vanishes from his chamber. Alex reappears in the resurrection room, a vast underground hall hidden beneath the palace. The atmosphere is heavy, thick with an ancient power that lingers in the air. At the room's center stands a massive resurrection altar, a black stone slab engraved with intricate, glowing runes pulsing with deep crimson light. The moment he steps forward, the runes react, brightening as if recognizing his presence. On either side of the altar, statues of long-forgotten deities loom, their stone gazes watching as if judging his decision. The chamber itself is silent, save for the faint hum of magic resonating from the altar. Alex approaches, placing a hand on the cold surface. The runes flare brighter, acknowledging his command. Select Varkas the Crimson Fong. The system responds immediately. Resurrection confirmed. Deducting 102,000 gold. A golden glow envelopes Alex as the massive sum is drained from his inventory. The chamber hums with raw energy, the very air crackling with power. The altar's runes pulse violently, casting eerie reflections across the stone walls. A deep tremor shakes the ground beneath him. Then the silence shatters. A surge of dark energy erupts from the altar, swirling into a vortex of crimson and black, twisting like a violent storm. The glow intensifies, condensing into a single point before. Boom! A shockwave bursts outward, making Alex's cloak billow as the power settles. The figure now standing on the altar is massive, easily towering over 8 feet tall. Varkas the Crimson Fong has returned. Thick, crimson fur covers his hulking frame, and his piercing eyes snap open. His claws flex, sharp as razors, as he takes his first breath in this world once more. His ears twitch, listening to the lingering hum of magic in the chamber. Then his gaze falls upon Alex. Without hesitation, Varkas lowers himself onto one knee, his massive form bowing in absolute reverence. His deep voice rumbles through the chamber, filled with raw gratitude and unwavering loyalty. Thank you, Your Majesty, for bringing me back. Alex, standing before him, crosses his arms and studies Varkas. Damn! This guy is huge. He had known Varkas was large in the game, but seeing him in person, the sheer size and presence of the lycanthrope is almost overwhelming. Rise. Alex commands, his voice steady. It's good to see you again, Varkas. Varkas lifts his head, his golden eyes gleaming with something close to satisfaction. He stands to his full height, his immense frame towering over Alex. Despite his size, his movements are smooth, controlled. There is no wasted motion, no unnecessary aggression. This is a warrior in his prime, fully aware of his own power. Varkas rolls his shoulders, then clenches a fist. His muscles flex beneath his crimson fur, raw strength coursing through him. It's the same for me, Your Majesty, he says, his deep voice filled with conviction. It's been too long. Alex nods. For now, just take some time to familiarize yourself with the city. He pauses, then adds, though I should warn you, the capital is empty. Varkas' eyes narrow slightly. Empty? Yes, but it won't be for long, Alex assures him. I'll gather enough gold to resurrect everyone. His voice is firm, unwavering. It's just a matter of time. Varkas is silent for a moment, then steps forward. He places a clawed hand over his chest and bows his head slightly. Then I will sacrifice myself to help His Majesty achieve it, he declares. Alex exhales sharply, shaking his head. I don't think that's plausible. He narrows his eyes. This is already your 10th death, right? Varkas nods without hesitation. Yes. You already know the rule. Alex continues, his voice firm. You all can only be resurrected 10 times. After the 10th death, it's over. No second chances, no more resurrections. He crosses his arms. So from now on, I'm ordering you, be careful with your life. Chapter 48, 20 Soldiers. Varkas's expression hardens, the weight of Alex's words settling over him. He bows his head slightly. Understood, Your Majesty. I will not waste this life. Alex gives him a firm nod. Good. Now go. Settle into your territory and get used to the city again. Varkas straightens to his full height and places a fist over his chest. As you command. With that, he turns and strides toward the exit, his massive frame moving with quiet confidence. Once Varkas is gone, Alex turns his attention back to the resurrection altar. He still has 300,000 gold left. It's not much compared to what he just spent, but it's enough to bring back a solid force. He raises a hand over the altar. The system interface flickers to life. Select one squad of soldiers. Resurrection confirmed. Deducting 300,000 gold. The altar glows again, though this time, the surge of energy is less intense than before. The crimson runes pulse steadily, the chamber vibrating with restrained power. Then, boom, a cluster of figures materializes before him. At the forefront stands a tall, armored warrior, his presence commanding. His plate armor gleams under the dim glow of the chamber, a deep scar running across his left cheek. His level displays above him. Rigor, level 415. Behind him, 20 soldiers stand at attention, their levels ranging from 200 to 300. Some are in heavy armor, others in lighter gear suited for mobility. Their weapons are diverse: blades, spears, bows, but they all share the same disciplined stance. Rigor steps forward, dropping to one knee. His voice is steady, unwavering. Your Majesty, we are honored to return to your service. Alex crosses his arms, scanning the soldiers. He nods in approval. Stand. The squad rises in unison, their movements sharp. Alex looks over the group, then gestures for them to gather closer. You'll be stationed somewhere else. Rigor and his soldiers step in, forming a disciplined formation around him. Alex meets Rigor's gaze. I'm sending you to Mizorn City. It's now under our kingdom's rule, and I need you there to reinforce security. Rigor nods. Understood, Your Majesty. How do we get there? Alex quickly explains the route, detailing the paths and key landmarks. You'll need to travel by foot. Once you arrive, report to Soren. She's in charge there. She'll decide where to station you. Rigor clenches his fist over his chest in salute. We will not fail you. Alex smirks slightly. Good. Now go. With that, he activates his teleportation. The world distorts around him. Soren is hunched over her desk, surrounded by stacks of parchment and ledgers. Her dark eyes are focused as she scribbles down reports, occasionally pushing stray strands of hair behind her ear. The workload has doubled ever since the dungeon became operational, and she barely has time to breathe. Then, boom, Alex suddenly materializes in the room. Soren jumps, her dagger half-drawn before she recognizes him. She exhales sharply, rubbing her temple. Your Majesty, she sighs, shaking her head. Could you not do that? Alex chuckles, arms crossed. Didn't know an assassin could get frightened. She glares at him but doesn't have the energy to argue. I'm not frightened, she mutters. I'm just tired and stressed. Alex glances at the cluttered desk. I thought you hired monsters to help you with this. I did, Soren sighs, rolling her shoulders. But there are thousands of monsters requesting citizenship. It's insane. Ever since the dungeon opened, Mizorn has exploded with new residents. Alex raises a brow. How many? In just a few days? Soren leans back, rubbing her temples. 12,000. And it's not slowing down. Alex thought, 12,000 already? That explains the workload. But more than that, it reminds him of the insane requirement to reach level 500. He needs 500,000 citizens. The jump from 10,000 to that number still feels ridiculous. At this rate, it's possible, but it'll take time. Shaking the thought away, he focuses back on Soren. That's actually why I'm here. There will be a squad of soldiers, including a Tier 4, level 400 captain. They'll be arriving soon. You can decide where to station them. Soren immediately perks up at that. That's perfect. She sits up straighter, looking far more alert. With the population growing this fast, we need more guards. Alex nods. Good. Then I'll leave them to you. Soren exhales, relief evident in her posture. I'll make sure they're put to good use. Alex watches her for a moment before saying, It's good to see that you're not hiding your identity anymore. Soren blinks, then chuckles softly. It's all thanks to you, Your Majesty. There's no point in hiding my face anymore. Not when I'm in the safest place in the world. Alex tilts his head slightly. I wouldn't claim my kingdom is the safest place in the world just yet. He keeps his expression neutral, but inwardly, he knows the truth. He still doesn't know much about this world. He's only begun to scratch the surface of its dangers. But, he continues, his voice steady, I will promise you this. My kingdom will not be destroyed by anyone. Soren meets his gaze, something unreadable flickering in her dark eyes. There's a quiet confidence in his words, an unshakable determination that makes her believe it. Alex steps back, preparing to teleport. But just before he does, he smirks again and says, And it's good that you're not hiding your beautiful face anymore. Soren's breath catches. A faint blush creeps up her cheeks, her usual composure faltering. She opens her mouth, but no words come out. It's the first time she's ever felt this strange, unfamiliar warmth in her chest. Boom! Before she can even process it, Alex is gone. Soren stands there for a long moment, staring at the empty space where he once was. She touches her cheek absent-mindedly. What the hell was that? She mutters to herself, completely bewildered. Not far from Mizorn City, a group of human adventurers crouches behind a rocky outcrop, eyes locked onto the distant city. Their captain, a rugged man with a weathered face and a trimmed beard, raises a spyglass to his eye. The enchanted lens hums faintly as he peers through it. Chapter 49, Two Types of Adventurers. Although I can't see much, I can tell there are a lot of monsters outside the city, and they're lining up. His brow furrows. It's hard to explain, but they're standing there obediently, no fighting, no chaos. Just waiting. One of his men, a younger adventurer with a bow slung across his back, leans in. Captain, what about inside the city? It's probably been reduced to rubble by now, right? The captain lowers the spyglass and shakes his head. Can't tell. The walls block my view. He hands the spyglass to another member. See if you can spot anything else. The man takes it and scans the city. His eyes widen slightly. There are monsters on top of the walls, he says, voice tinged with disbelief. They look like they're patrolling. Another adventurer scoffs. That's ridiculous. Since when do monsters patrol like trained soldiers? The captain exhales, running a hand through his short, graying hair. With this information, the quest is a success. We might even get promoted to a silver-ranked adventurer group. He smirks. After all, the kingdom put out this quest specifically. This is exactly the kind of intel they wanted. One of the younger adventurers, a wiry man with twin daggers strapped to his waist, whistles. Silver rank, huh? That'd mean better quests, better pay, and fewer of those garbage escort missions. A stocky warrior with a great sword slung over his back crosses his arms. It'd also mean harder jobs. But this is valuable. If monsters are organizing like this, that's not normal. The kingdom's going to want to know what's happening here. The captain nods. Exactly. That's why we don't take any unnecessary risks. We head back and report. He glances around at his team. And no one does anything stupid, understood? Yeah. The rogue mutters, sheathing his daggers. Not like I want to fight an army of monsters. The youngest member, a bright-eyed mage, looks up from his notebook. Captain, I've been thinking, there are two types of adventurers, right? Some, like us, take quests as a group and rank up together. But then there are solo adventurers, the ones who don't belong to a party and take on quests alone. The captain raises a brow. Yeah, what about it? The mage hesitates, then says, it's just that Crove, a bronze-ranked adventurer, took this quest before us. He never came back, just like the others who took it first. His grip tightens on his notebook. Doesn't that seem off to you? The group falls silent for a moment. The rogue clicks his tongue. Crove, huh? I remember that guy. Thought he was hot shit just because he cleared a goblin den solo. He shakes his head. Still, he wasn't weak. If he disappeared too, maybe he got careless. The warrior grunts. A lone bronze rank sneaking around near a monster-infested city? He was either reckless or unlucky. The captain sighs. Stop being so worrisome. We're far away from the city. I even bought this spyglass for a fortune just so we wouldn't have to get any closer. He taps the expensive item in his hand. This lets us do our job without ending up like Crove or the others. The mage frowns. Still, something doesn't add up. He looks back at the city, then at the monsters outside. If this was just a regular monster outbreak, we should have seen signs of destruction. Smoke, fires, maybe even bodies. But everything looks controlled. The rogue crosses his arms. And that's weird because monsters don't do that, the mage says flatly. They rampage. They destroy. They don't line up in neat little rows like soldiers waiting for orders. The captain exhales sharply. I know it's weird, but weird or not, our job is just to gather intel and report back. We're not here to solve this mystery ourselves. He gestures to his team. We've got what we came for. Now pack up. We're leaving. The group nods and begins gathering their gear. The tension lingers, but they push it aside. After all, they're professionals. Then, a faint whisper, a flicker of movement. The mage's breath catches. His fingers tighten around his staff. A cold, unnatural presence presses against his skin, sending a violent shiver down his spine. Something is wrong. Wait! Before the words can fully escape his lips, the world shifts. The others don't even react. They don't even know, because they're already dead. Dark, wraith-like figures rise from the very shadows around them. Silent, formless beings of pure darkness. No sound, no warning, no chance. One by one, the adventurers drop. Eyes wide, mouths slightly open as if in mid-conversation. Their bodies crumple, lifeless, before they even realize they've been killed.
No struggle. No screams.
Just silence. The mage, the only one who feels it, who knows, tries to raise a barrier. But before he can even gather the mana, cold fingers brush against his throat. His vision blurs. Then, darkness. The shadowy figures stand for a brief moment over the lifeless bodies. They do not speak. They do not linger. And just as suddenly as they appeared, they vanish. In the grand throne room of Ralthian's royal palace, King Edric sits on his throne, his fingers drumming lightly against the armrest. The room is silent, save for the occasional crackle of the torches lining the stone walls. Before him stands Marshal Novius, the kingdom's top military strategist and commander of the royal army. The king exhales, his voice heavy with concern. Marshal Novius, has the Adventurers Guild had any success with the quest? Novius lowers his head slightly. Unfortunately, Your Majesty, they have not. His tone is measured but firm. Every bronze rank adventurers that has accepted the request has failed to return. At this point, we may need to raise the quest to silver rank. King Edric sighs, leaning back against his throne. His expression darkens. So even the bronze-ranked adventurers couldn't handle it, and we still don't know what happened to them. Novia straightens his posture. Rest assured, Your Majesty. If the situation escalates, the kingdom's army is always ready. Chapter 50, Tier 4 Skills. Inside his private training area, Alex stands before a reinforced training dummy, gripping his sword tightly. The air around him hums with mana as he focuses, adjusting his stance. He takes a deep breath. Tier 4 skills are on a completely different level. His muscles tense as he prepares to strike. Phantom Blade, he calls out. His sword flickers out of existence for a brief moment before reappearing mid-swing, slashing cleanly through the air. The attack is nearly invisible, its speed overwhelming. The dummy remains intact for a second. Then, with a faint shimmer, deep gashes appear along its frame. Alex exhales, fast but still not fluid enough. He shifts his grip and moves into his next technique. Rift Step. His figure vanishes in a blur, reappearing behind the dummy in an instant. Alex steadies himself, exhaling slowly. These skills are strong, but using them one at a time isn't enough. He looks at the dummy, now riddled with cuts, but still standing. His grip tightens around his sword. All right, he mutters to himself. Let's start the real training. He walks over to a control panel embedded in the stone wall and adjusts the settings. With a few flicks of his fingers, he changes the dummy's mode. Its passive state vanishes, and instead, a new set of parameters appears before him. Combat mode activated. Difficulty advanced. Enemy level 500.
Adaptive combat AI enabled.
As soon as he confirms the settings, the dummy transforms. Its once wooden form shifts, hardening into a sleek, metallic humanoid with glowing red eyes. The air around it shudders as it takes its first step forward, an aura of power radiating from its frame. Alex grins. Now we're talking. The dummy moves first. With inhuman speed, it lunges, a shimmering blade forming from its right arm. Alex barely dodges in time, twisting his body as the weapon slashes past his shoulder. It's fast. He retaliates instantly. Blazing arc. His sword ignites in flames as he swings upward. The fire streaks through the air, but the dummy blocks it effortlessly with a sudden energy shield. It adapted already. Alex doesn't hesitate, he shifts tactics. Storm Surge. A burst of wind explodes from beneath him, launching him into the air. The dummy follows, leaping after him. Alex's eyes sharpen. Glacial Spikes. The temperature plummets as massive ice spikes materialize in midair, aiming for the dummy. It twists to dodge, but one of the spikes grazes its arm, slowing its movement. Got you. Alex extends his hand. Thunder Chain. Lightning crackles as a web of electricity surges toward the dummy, locking onto the metallic frame. The impact sends shockwaves through the training area, and for a moment, the dummy freezes in place. But only for a moment. With a mechanical hum, its red eyes flare, and its body shifts again. Energy pulses from within, shattering the paralyzing effect. Then, in a flash, it closes the distance. Alex barely has time to raise his sword before the dummy's fist crashes into his guard, sending him skidding across the ground. He grits his teeth, rolling back onto his feet. This is what I wanted, a real challenge. His magic flares once more. All right then, let's see how you handle everything I've got. Alex plants his feet firmly, rolling his shoulders. His mana surges as he channels his strongest abilities. If he's gonna push himself, he needs to go all out. 11 Tier 4 buffs. He exhales sharply, feeling the immense energy coursing through his veins. Let's see what happens when I stack them all. One by one, he activates them. Titan Strength. His muscles surge with raw power, his body reinforced beyond normal human limits. Celestial Agility. His movements become sharper, his reaction speed doubling instantly. Adamantine Skin. A faint metallic sheen coats his body, making his defenses nearly impenetrable. Arcane Surge. His mana pool expands, his spells and skills gaining a massive boost in potency. Phantom Reflex. His instincts heighten, allowing him to react to attacks almost before they happen. Eagle's Eye. His vision sharpens, tracking every movement of the enemy with crystal clarity. Shadow Step. His body becomes lighter, allowing him to move with unparalleled fluidity. Warrior's Resolve. His stamina replenishes at an accelerated rate, ensuring he doesn't tire quickly. Stormborn Affinity. Lightning crackles around his form, empowering his attacks with electric speed and force. Infernal Wrath. A blazing aura engulfs his body, increasing the destructive power of his fire-based abilities. Glacial Endurance. The heat-resistant flames are countered by an inner cold, stabilizing his temperature and granting frost resistance. A brilliant glow radiates from Alex as the effects of the buffs intertwine. His breathing steadies, his body vibrating with untamed potential. The dummy, as if sensing the drastic increase in power, shifts into a more aggressive stance. Its adaptive AI recalibrates, its red eyes gleaming with a dangerous light. Alex smirks. Let's see if you can keep up now. The dummy moves, but this time, Alex sees everything. Time seems to slow as it lunges at him. He doesn't dodge. Instead, he counters. Boom! The entire training area trembles as he blocks the strike with a single hand. The shockwave ripples through the air, but Alex remains unmoved. The dummy readjusts, aiming a precise stab toward his chest. Alex twists his body, sidesteps, and counters with a devastating punch enhanced by Titan's strength. Crack! The impact sends the dummy flying backward, slamming into the far wall. Alex vanishes. He reappears mid-air above the dummy, sword raised high. Thunderfang Slash. His blade arcs downward, lightning streaking behind it. The dummy reacts instantly, raising a barrier, but Alex is already moving again. Boom! Several minutes later, Alex exhales sharply, standing over the shattered remains of the training dummy. Smoke rises from its ruined frame, sparks flickering along its broken limbs. His entire body aches, his breathing ragged. Wow! He mutters between breaths. Even with all the Tier 4 skills I used, I still took a lot of time to defeat this level 500 dummy. His arms feel heavy, his muscles burning from exertion. He rolls his shoulders, satisfied despite the exhaustion. This was exactly what he needed, a true test of his limits. Chapter 51, Eldoria City. He takes a moment to steady himself before walking toward the exit. His private washroom is just a short distance away, and right now a cold shower sounds perfect. Inside the washroom, steam rises as Alex stands under the cascading water, letting it wash away the sweat and tension from his body. The icy temperature shocks his system at first, but after a few moments, it soothes his overworked muscles. Finishing up, he dries himself off and changes into a fresh set of clothes before making his way back to his workspace. Alex enters his private workspace, a room lined with shelves of books, documents, and various magical artifacts. His desk is organized, filled with notes and detailed reports of Shadow's intel about the Three Kingdoms. Alex leans back in his chair, exhaling. His mind is already shifting to his next task. He focuses for a moment, reaching out with his thoughts. Varkas, if you're ready, come to me now. A brief silence follows before a deep, composed voice replies in his mind. I will be there shortly, Your Majesty. Alex nods to himself. While waiting, he retrieves a small, intricately designed box from his desk drawer. Inside lies an item he hasn't used in a long time, a set of enchanted rings designed to completely alter one's appearance. A short while later, the air shifts, and a familiar presence approaches. The door opens silently, and Varkas steps inside, his imposing form moving with quiet precision. His crimson eyes flicker with curiosity as he bows slightly. You called, Your Majesty? Alex gestures toward the chair across from him. Seat. We're going to the human city. Alex lifting one of the rings from the box. And put this on. We can't exactly stroll in human city looking like this. Varkas straightens and continue listening. We can't stroll in looking like this, so we need to use these. Alex smirks, lifting one of the rings from the box. Varkas takes a ring and examines it briefly before slipping it onto his finger. The transformation is instantaneous. His armor shifts into elegant noble attire. His eyes turn a deep brown, and his once intimidating features soften into a refined, human knight appearance. Alex puts on his own ring, feeling the magic ripple through his body. His hair darkens to a deep brown, his eyes shift to a dull green, and his regal presence dims into something more unassuming. His usual commanding aura fades, replaced by the air of a noble. Varkas studies him briefly, then nods. This should work. What's our approach, Your Majesty? Alex walks toward the door. We'll discuss that on the way. Let's go. Outside, a sleek, black flying carriage awaits them. Its enchanted wheels hover just above the ground, pulsating with faint blue mana. The two step inside, the doors shutting with a soft click. The interior is luxurious yet subtle. Dark leather seats, a small table, and tinted windows that obscure the view from the outside. As the carriage lifts into the sky, the hum of the mana fills the space with a gentle vibration. Alex settles into his seat and flicks his wrist, summoning a map that unfolds in the air before him. The detailed parchment displays the 3 major kingdoms, each marked with intricate sigils and landmarks. His finger hovers over one in particular. We're heading to the capital of Ralthian Kingdom, Alex says, his tone thoughtful. Varkas leans forward slightly, studying the map. His brow furrows. Ralthian Kingdom. I'm not familiar with it. Alex glances at him, then nods in understanding. Right? You were revived recently, so you wouldn't know. He taps the map, zooming in on the region. There are 3 major kingdoms in the human territories. Ralthian is the weakest of the 3. Varkas listens in silence as Alex continues, his finger tracing across the map. From the reports I received from the shadows, Ralthian has been in decline for years. Its economy is struggling, its military is disorganized, and its nobility is fractured by internal conflicts. The only thing keeping it afloat is the fact that the other kingdoms haven't made a move against it yet. He shifts his attention to the 2 other kingdoms. Ordea, on the other hand, is a merchant kingdom. Trade and wealth are their strengths. They control major trade routes and have connections with various races, which means their economy is stable, if not thriving. Their military power is quite good. Though if a war broke out, they'd rely on mercenaries and hired forces, rather than a standing army. His finger moves again, this time stopping over Valgros. Then there's Valgros, a militaristic state heavily fortified and always preparing for war. They prioritize strength and conquest over diplomacy. Their forces are disciplined, their leadership is strict, and they're expansionist. Alex leans back, crossing his arms. Our target is Ralthian because it's the easiest to gain influence in. A kingdom in decline means its people are desperate, and desperate people are willing to pay for power. We'll be selling skill books there, and if all goes well, we'll secure a huge amount of gold coins. Varkas remains silent, processing the information. After a moment, he nods. Alex smirks. Just remember, this is a business trip, not a battlefield. No fighting unless absolutely necessary. Varkas scratches the back of his head, sighing. I'll keep that in mind, Your Majesty. The dirt road stretches ahead as the carriage rattles along, the sound of wooden wheels crunching against the path filling the air. Varkas holds the reins, his posture relaxed yet firm as he guides the horses forward. The grand, sleek flying carriage from before is nowhere to be seen. Alex had long since swapped it for a simple, well-worn merchant's carriage, blending in with the countless traders making their way to Eldoria. As they near the city's towering gates, a long line of merchants and travelers comes into view. The guards stationed at the entrance, clad in dull steel armor, move methodically, checking papers and collecting entrance fees. Chapter 52. Auctioning Skill Books. Alex observes quietly from inside the carriage before finally speaking. 1 gold coin just to enter as a merchant. It's a bit steep. Varkas glances at him through the open window. Seems excessive for a kingdom in decline. Alex chuckles lightly. That's exactly why. When a kingdom is struggling, they squeeze whatever they can from those who still have wealth. Varkas doesn't respond, simply steering the carriage forward as the line inches along. Eventually, it's their turn. A guard, his helmet slightly tilted as if it barely fits, steps up and eyes them with practiced indifference. His gaze lingers on the carriage before shifting to Varkas and then to Alex, who sits calmly inside. Merchant entry is 1 gold coin. State your business. The guard says flatly. Alex produces a pouch and pulls out a single gold coin, flipping it toward the man. The guard catches it with a grunt before inspecting it. I deal in rare goods, Alex answers smoothly. Books, artifacts, things that nobles and scholars find useful. The guard raises an eyebrow but doesn't pry further. He steps aside, gesturing toward the gate. You're clear. Next. With a flick of the reins, Varkas guides the carriage into the bustling streets of Eldoria. The city is alive with movement. Market stalls line the roads, traders shout over one another, and the scent of baked bread and roasted meat fills the air. Despite its decline, Eldoria still holds remnants of its former prosperity. Alex leans back slightly, surveying the city through the window. First, we need an inn. Then we will go somewhere. Varkas nods, maneuvering the carriage deeper into the city. They soon arrive at an inn, the most luxurious one Eldoria has to offer. At least, that's what the people claims. Varkas steps down from the carriage first, his sharp eyes scanning the building. The structure is made of aged stone and wood, with a grand entrance and decorative banners hanging from the balcony above. It's well-maintained compared to the surrounding buildings, but in his eyes, it barely qualifies as decent. This is their best inn? Varkas mutters under his breath, unimpressed. I've seen goblins live better back home. Alex steps out of the carriage, adjusting his coat. Not everyone has the luxury of comparing everything to my city, Varkas. He smirks. Varkas exhales through his nose. Even empty, the inns back home would make this place look like a roadside tavern. With that, he strides toward the entrance, and Varkas follows. The lobby is spacious, with polished wooden floors and a grand chandelier hanging above. A few guests lounge in the seating area, and a well-dressed innkeeper stands behind the reception desk, offering a professional smile as they approach. Welcome, gentlemen. How may I assist you? Alex places a pouch of gold on the counter. A private suite.
No disturbances.
The innkeeper's eyes flicker to the gold, and his smile widens. Of course, right this way. The room is spacious, with elegant furnishings and 2 large beds covered in dark red linens. A small table sits in the center, complete with a fruit platter and a bottle of wine. The decor is impressive by Eldoria standards, but Varkas still scoffs as he steps inside. A servant soon arrives, bringing their meals: roasted lamb, fresh bread, and a hearty vegetable stew. They eat in silence, savoring the meal before Alex finally stands. Now we're going to the auction house, Alex says, adjusting his coat. Varkas wipes his mouth with a napkin and immediately stands. Understood, Your Majesty. Without further delay, they leave the inn, making their way through the bustling streets of Eldoria. The auction house is a grand structure near the city center, its entrance lined with torches and banners displaying the crest of a noble family. A steady flow of well-dressed individuals enters, their carriages lining the nearby streets. As Alex and Varkas approach, a guard steps forward, blocking their path with a firm hand. He eyes them critically before speaking. 5,000 gold coins. Only those who have 5,000 gold coins can participate. Alex doesn't even blink. Instead, he tilts his head slightly. I want to see the owner of this auction house. I have something to auction. The guard frowns but doesn't immediately refuse. He glances toward the nearby receptionist, a young woman dressed in formal attire, who quickly approaches. Sir, she says hesitantly, the auction is about to start. I don't think they'll take any more items for tonight's event. Alex exhales softly, his voice lowering. That's too bad. I was planning to auction some skill books. The air around them seems to shift. The receptionist's eyes widen in shock, her breath catching for a moment. Skill books? She repeats, her voice barely above a whisper. Even the guard straightens slightly, his expression no longer indifferent. In Eldoria, skill books are incredibly rare, so rare that even a Tier 1 skill could easily fetch thousands of gold coins at auction. The receptionist quickly regains her composure, forcing a polite smile. Please come in, sir. She gestures for them to follow, personally leading them inside. Instead of seating them in the general hall, she directs them to a private VIP room. The chamber is elegantly decorated, with plush seating and a clear view of the auction stage below. Please wait here, sir, the receptionist says, bowing slightly. I will inform my employer immediately. Shortly after, an elderly man enters the VIP room. He walks with a composed grace, his neatly trimmed silver beard and sharp, intelligent eyes giving off the air of a seasoned businessman. Dressed in a dark embroidered robe, he exudes the quiet authority of someone who has spent decades in the auction trade. Good evening, sir. His voice is smooth, practiced. My name is Edmar Volstorn, the head of this auction house. I was informed that you wish to auction some skill books. Alex, seated comfortably, offers a slight nod. Straight to the point. I like that, he says, setting down a small wooden box on the table. I have 3 Tier 1 skill books here, as well as 2 Tier 2, 1 skill and 1 spell. Chapter 53. A young Legomian. Tier 2 and a spell? He echoes, barely able to mask his surprise. His gaze flickers to Alex and then to Varkas, standing silently beside him. In his mind, he quickly tries to assess them. This young man, no ordinary merchant could casually bring such treasures. He must be the son of a noble. The Ordea kingdom, perhaps. Maintaining his professional composure, Edmar clears his throat and smiles. Sir, we will gladly add these to tonight's auction. In fact, the Tier 2 skill and spell will be placed as the grand finale. Their value will undoubtedly attract fierce competition. Alex smirks slightly. That's what I'm counting on. Edmar inclines his head. I will personally ensure they are presented at the perfect moment. As for your compensation, we take a 10% cut from the final bid price. Is that acceptable? Alex waves a hand dismissively. Fine by me. Excellent. Edmar claps his hands together. The auction will begin shortly. Please, enjoy the privileges of the VIP room while you watch. With that, he departs, leaving Alex and Varkas alone. Varkas leans in slightly. They'll be desperate to get their hands on those books. Alex chuckles. Exactly. Let's see how much these nobles are willing to pay for power. The auction finally begins. A well-dressed auctioneer steps onto the grand stage, his voice clear and commanding as he welcomes the guests. The hall is filled with nobles, merchants, and wealthy adventurers, all waiting eagerly for the bidding to commence. The first item of the night, the auctioneer announces, is a finely crafted silver dagger, imbued with minor enchantments for durability and sharpness. A fine weapon for any noble's collection or an adventurer in need of reliability. Starting bid, 500 gold coins. Back and forth, the dagger is sold for 800 gold. Alex watches from the VIP room, unimpressed. He takes a sip of the wine provided and glances at Varkas. A basic enchanted dagger, barely worth noticing. Varkas nods slightly. If this is how they're starting, I can only imagine how desperate they'll be once the real treasures come out. The auction continues. A set of high-quality armor, a decorative gemstone necklace, and a few minor enchanted trinkets are brought forward, each selling for anywhere between 500 to 1,000 gold coins. Some items garner more attention, pushing past 2,000, but nothing causes much of a stir. Varkas' arms crossed. So far, nothing remarkable. Suddenly, the next auction item makes both of them squint slightly. The atmosphere in the hall shifts as a large, covered cage is wheeled onto the stage. When the cloth is pulled away, a small figure is revealed. A young humanoid monster, her ears drooping as she curls up in the corner, eyes filled with fear. Alex immediately glances at Varkas. His jaw is clenched tight, his fists curled into shaking balls of rage. The sheer pressure of his aura thickens the air around them, a silent storm of fury barely restrained. Alex's voice is calm but firm. You need to calm down, Varkas. You're not restraining your aura. Varkas inhales sharply, his breathing heavy, before closing his eyes. With a slow exhale, the pressure in the room fades. He bows his head slightly. I'm sorry, Your Majesty. Please punish me for my lack of control. Alex sighs. No need. His gaze shifts back to the auction floor, locking onto the trembling child. The auctioneer clears his throat. A rare find indeed. A young Legomian, strong, fast, and highly trainable. Perfect servant or pet. Starting bid. 1,000 gold coins. Murmurs spread through the crowd, some intrigued, others indifferent. A few nobles lean forward, considering their bids. Alex's expression darkens slightly. Then, in a quiet voice, he says, Don't worry, I will bid for her. The bidding starts immediately, nobles in the general seating raising their paddles without hesitation. 1,000 gold. 1,500. 2,000. The price climbs steadily, reaching 5,000 gold coins in a matter of minutes. By this point, only the VIP guests are still bidding. 5,500. A voice calls from another private room. 6,000. Another counters. Alex calmly raises his paddle. 7,000. A hush spreads through the hall as the auctioneer's gaze flickers toward the VIP rooms. We have a bid of 7,000 from one of our esteemed guests. Do we have 8,000? A moment of hesitation, then 8,000. Alex smirks slightly. 9,000. The whispers among the nobles grow louder. Who in the VIP room is bidding? Why would anyone spend this much on a mere monster slave? Even the auctioneer looks surprised. This shouldn't be this expensive. Then, 10,000. The hall falls silent. The auctioneer wipes his brow, his voice a little strained. 10,000 gold. Do we have any further bids? The room stays quiet. Going once, going twice. Sold. To our esteemed guest in the VIP room. Alex leans back, watching as the cage is wheeled away. His gaze flickers toward Varkas, who is still standing stiffly. See? Now she's ours. Shortly after, a knock echoes at the VIP room door. The auction house receptionist enters, accompanied by 2 guards carrying the young Legomian girl, her ears twitching anxiously as they set the cage down. The receptionist steps forward, holding out a small, metallic bracelet with glowing runes. Your purchase, sir. This is a standard control item for slaves. Simply wear it, and with a command you can issue direct orders. The slave will be unable to disobey. Alex stares at the bracelet for a moment before reaching out and taking it. His expression remains unreadable as he pockets it without a word. The receptionist hesitates briefly but then bows. Enjoy your acquisition, sir. With a final nod, the staff leaves, shutting the door behind them. Silence lingers in the room. The only sound is the faint breathing of the child. Slowly, she lifts her head, her bright eyes filled with wariness and fear. Despite the trembling in her small frame, she forces herself to kneel properly, her ears flattened against her head. Chapter 54. The nobles fighting for scraps. I greet my new master, she says softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Alex watches her for a moment before speaking. Child, what is your name? She hesitates, as if unsure if she's allowed to answer. Then, after a moment, she swallows and whispers, Liss. Alex nods. Be at ease, Liss. You don't have to kneel. The girl flinches slightly but obeys, shifting uncomfortably as she looks up at him. Alex then turns to Varkas. Drop the disguise. Varkas nods, and in the next moment, both of their appearances shift. The illusion fades, revealing Alex's features. His sharp face, pale skin, fierce eyes, and faint scales along his arms. Varkas, too, lets his true form emerge, his monstrous features stark and intimidating. Lissa's breath catches. Her red eyes widen in disbelief. Then, the weight of everything crashes down on her. Her body shakes violently as she stares at them, tears spilling from her eyes. "Sir, please, help me," she cries, her voice cracking. "I don't want to go back to the humans. Please, I'll do anything." Alex kneels down, keeping his voice steady. "Calm down, Liz. We are going to help you." Lissa's breath catches. Her small body tenses before her expression crumbles. Tears well up in her eyes, her voice desperate. Also, save him. You have to save him." Alex's gaze sharpens. "Who?" "My big brother," she sobs, her tiny hands clutching the bars. "They took him too. He's a slave to a noble. Please, I'll do anything. Just save him." Alex's expression remains calm, but his eyes darken slightly. He turns to Varkas, who is already looking at him, awaiting orders. "Calm her down," Alex says quietly. Varkas steps forward, kneeling beside the cage. His voice, usually cold, softens just slightly. "I will, Your Majesty. And thank you." Then he turns his gaze to Liz. Alex understands the weight behind those words. He knows what Varkas is feeling. This moment is far too familiar for him. In the game, Varkas once had a daughter. She had been captured, enslaved by humans, and ultimately killed. It was that tragedy that fueled his hatred toward those who enslaved monsters. Now, he had a chance to save at least one child. Liz sniffles, but she looks at him with wide eyes. "You'll save him?" Varkas gives a firm nod. "We will." Varkas pat her head, his eyes locked onto Liz's. "After this auction, we will save your big brother. I promise you that." Liz stares at him, searching for any sign of falsehood, but all she finds is unwavering resolve. A shaky breath escapes her lips, and the tension in her small body finally eases. "Okay," she whispers, wiping at her damp cheeks. Alex, watching the exchange, smiled and said, "Good. Now let's focus." The auctioneer's voice booms across the hall, bringing the crowd's attention back to the stage. "And now, we present what was meant to be tonight's grand finale. A rare artifact from an ancient ruin. Behold, the Crimson Moon Pendant." With a dramatic flourish, an attendant unveils a beautiful necklace with a deep red gemstone at its center, swirling with faint magical energy. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. "A mana-amplifying relic? I heard it boosts fire spells immensely. A treasure like that is priceless." Alex, however, remains unimpressed. Compared to the skill books he provided, this item is minor. The bidding begins, and as expected, the nobles go wild. The price climbs rapidly, 3,000, 10,000, 20,000 gold in mere moments. Alex leans back, swirling the wine in his glass as the numbers climb. The nobles are desperate, their voices growing louder with each bid. But he already knows this is nothing compared to what's coming next. Varkas watches the stage with mild disinterest. They're fighting over scraps. Alex smirks. Let them. The real show is about to begin. The Crimson Moon Pendant is finally sold for 35,000 gold, and the auctioneer claps his hands together. Ladies and gentlemen, what an incredible bid. But tonight is far from over. A murmur spreads through the hall. The auction was supposed to be finished. What else could they possibly have? The auctioneer grins, letting the anticipation build before dramatically gesturing to his assistants. "We have an exclusive addition to tonight's event. Something so rare, so extraordinary, that it will surely shake the very foundations of power in this room." The tension thickens. With a theatrical motion, the auctioneer unveils a velvet-covered stand. On it, 3 books rest, their covers glowing faintly with enchantment. Behold, 3 Tier 1 skill books. This isn't a joke, is it? Where did they get such a thing? The auctioneer laughs, raising a hand for silence. "Ladies and gentlemen, please, the starting bid is set at 50,000 gold per book." Nobles immediately begin barking orders at their subordinates. "Go! Get more gold now. Find the treasurer. Tell him to prepare everything. I don't care what it takes. I need that book. The bidding starts instantly. 55,000. 60,000. 70,000. The numbers climb at a dizzying pace. Some nobles throw in bids without hesitation, while others grit their teeth, weighing their options. The sheer rarity of skill books pushes them to their limits. 100,000. Gasps ripple through the crowd. The tension is thick, but the frenzy doesn't stop. 110,000. 120. The nobles glare at each other, beads of sweat forming on their brows. Some have already backed down, their wealth unable to compete. But a few are still in the fight, their gazes burning with greed. 140,000. The room holds its breath. Silence lingers until one last voice cuts through. 150,000. The hall erupts in murmurs. No one dares to bid higher. That price for a single Tier 1 skill book is already absurd. The auctioneer lets the silence stretch before slamming his gavel down. Sold. For 150,000 gold. Cheers and sighs fill the air. Some thrilled, others bitter with defeat. Alex watches it all unfold, a smirk tugging at his lips. And that is just Tier 1. Chapter 55. Tier 2 Spell, Infernal Surge. The other two books are sold quickly, though the intensity of the bidding has slightly diminished. 105,000. 110. 112,000 going once, going twice sold. The final bid barely crosses 100,000, as some nobles have exhausted their resources. Despite this, their expressions remain a mix of excitement and frustration. Skill books are invaluable, and even Tier 1 holds immense worth. The auctioneer, still riding the energy of the last bids, grins as he gestures toward his assistants once more. And now for something even greater, a treasure of higher caliber, Tier 2 skills. The room buzzes again, anticipation crackling in the air. Two more books are brought onto the stage, their covers glowing with a stronger enchantment than the previous ones. Behold, a Tier 2 combat skill, Phantom Edge. A technique that allows the wielder to unleash afterimage strikes, overwhelming opponents with sheer speed. Gasps fill the room. And if that wasn't enough, a Tier 2 spell, Infernal Surge. A devastating fire spell capable of engulfing an entire battlefield in flames. The nobles practically vibrate with excitement. This is beyond rare. A Tier 2 spell. If we had this, our mages could rival entire armies. But before the auction can begin, a sudden commotion at the entrance halts everything. The crowd turns as the doors swing open. A man clad in elegant yet subtly reinforced attire strides in, flanked by two armored guards. His presence alone is enough to send whispers rippling through the hall. The royal family sent a representative? What is the meaning of this? Alex watches with mild amusement as the auctioneer hurriedly bows, his voice respectful but eager. Ah, Lord Viren, what an honor to have you join us. Viren, a middle-aged noble with sharp eyes and a calculating expression, nods once. I was told that skill books are being auctioned here. The royal family wishes to partake. A hush falls over the room. Some nobles exchange nervous glances. Competing against other nobles is one thing, but against the royal family's wealth? That's an entirely different game. The auctioneer quickly composes himself. Of course, my lord. You arrived at the perfect time. A Tier 2 combat skill and spell are now available for bidding. Viren steps forward, his gaze briefly scanning the books before settling onto the auctioneer. Then let us begin. The royal treasury is ready to claim what belongs at the top. The auctioneer, his smile unwavering, quickly gestures to a nearby attendant. Please, escort Lord Viren to a vacant VIP room. A well-dressed servant bows and swiftly leads Viren and his guards toward an elevated seating area, draped in fine silk and positioned for an optimal view of the stage. The murmurs in the crowd persist, but no one dares openly question the royal family's presence. Once Viren is settled, The auctioneer clears his throat. Now then, without further delay, let us resume the auction. He turns back to the crowd, his enthusiasm never faltering. We shall begin with the Tier 2 combat skill, Phantom Edge. The starting bid is set at 100,000 gold. A noble from the front row immediately raises his fan. 110,000. The competition heats up quickly. Unlike the previous Tier 1 books, there is no hesitation this time. A combat skill of this level could change the fate of a duelist, a knight, even an entire family's standing. Alex watches with a hint of amusement. The nobles are desperate. Some grip their chairs tightly, their knuckles white as they consider their bids. 200,000. Gasps ripple through the crowd. The bidder, an older noble with silver hair, straightens his posture as if daring anyone to challenge him. But Viren merely chuckles from his VIP seat. He raises a single hand. 250,000. Silence follows. The weight of the royal treasury is undeniable. Even the boldest nobles hesitate. A younger lord, sweat forming at his brow, grits his teeth. 270. Viren barely reacts. He raises his hand again, his voice calm and measured. 300,000. The hall goes dead silent. No one speaks. No one moves. The auctioneer, sensing no further bids, smiles broadly. 300,000 going once. Going twice sold. The Tier 2 skill book, Phantom Edge, now belongs to the royal family. A round of polite applause follows, though the tension in the room remains thick. Viren reclines slightly, pleased but unsurprised. He had expected no real opposition. The auctioneer claps his hands. And now, the next item, perhaps even more sought after than the last. The Tier 2 spell, Infernal Surge. Unlike before, there is no pause. The moment the bidding opens, the nobles erupt. 150,000. 200,000. 250,000. It is a battlefield of voices, each noble more desperate than the last. A powerful spell like Infernal Surge could change the tide of wars, dominate battlefields, and cement a family's influence for generations. Alex swirls his wine, his golden eyes watching the chaos unfold. A group of nobles in one of the VIP room turn toward each other. Work together, one whispers. If we combine our resources, we can outbid him. Several of them nod in agreement. Moments later, one of them, an older noble with a deep purple cloak, raises his hand. 350,000. The hall gasps. Even Viren raises an eyebrow at the unexpected resistance. The nobles who joined forces watch him carefully, their expressions tense. If they win, they will split the spell among their houses, a temporary alliance for an unmatched power. For a brief moment it seems possible. But then Viren said, 400,000. A heavy silence follows Viren's bid. The nobles who had allied together glance at each other, their confidence wavering. Some grip their chairs tightly, others shift uncomfortably in place. Then, an older noble in a regal navy blue coat lets out a weary sigh. He slowly rises from his seat, his stern gaze sweeping over the room before settling on the younger lords who had dared to challenge Viren. All of you should stop now. His voice is calm yet carries the weight of experience. Even if you pool all your resources together, you won't be able to secure it. This isn't the time for us to anger the royal family. Chapter 56. Nikon. The gathered nobles exchange hesitant looks, reluctant but understanding. The old noble's expression hardens. The royal family is desperate right now, especially after what happened to Mizorn City. They're already on edge, and if we push them further, it won't end well for us. His voice lowers, a warning laced within. We don't want our plans to be ruined over a single spell book. Several nobles flinch at the mention of Mizorn. The situation there is volatile, and the royal family's grip on power is not as secure as it once was. Testing their patience now could have dire consequences. Seeing that the nobles didn't bid anymore, Viren said with an amused smirk. Smart choice, he says lazily. Then, Turning back to the auctioneer, he gestures dismissively. Shall we proceed? The auctioneer, sensing no further bids, clears his throat. For 100,000 going once, going twice sold. The Tier 2 spellbook, Infernal Surge, now belongs to the royal family. Polite applause follows, but the air is heavy with subdued tension. Some nobles cast bitter glances toward Viren, while others sit in silence, resigned to their loss. In the VIP room above, Alex leans back in his chair, swirling his wine with mild amusement. He watches the defeated nobles, their brief unity dissolving into quiet frustration. Too bad, he murmurs, his eyes flickering with interest. The nobles stopped fighting for it. As the hall begins to settle, another figure approaches the VIP section. An older man, dressed in fine robes embroidered with the insignia of the auction house. His posture is straight, his steps measured, and his sharp eyes reveal the mind of a seasoned merchant. Alex recognizes him immediately. This is the owner of the auction house, the one who personally sought him out after hearing that skill books would be auctioned. The man stops before Alex's table, offering a polite but knowing smile. Lord Alex, I trust the auction went as expected? His voice is smooth, the tone of a man accustomed to high-stakes dealings. Alex studies him for a moment before giving a slight nod. Better than expected. The auction house owner chuckles, his gaze flicking toward the heavy pouch Alex received moments ago. That much is clear. Few would dare to part with such rare goods, let alone multiple skill books. It seems you have a rather unique source. Alex merely swirls his wine, his expression unreadable. A businessman shouldn't question where his merchandise comes from, only whether it sells. The older man's smile widens slightly. A fair point. He gestures to the bustling hall below. Your offerings have caused quite a stir among the noble circles. I imagine there will be no shortage of interested buyers should you decide to auction again. Alex leans back, his golden eyes glinting with amusement. If the price is right. The auction house owner chuckles again, clearly pleased. Naturally. He then reaches into his sleeve and withdraws a small, intricately designed token. A mark of priority. If you ever wish to auction more goods, present this at the entrance. You will be given the highest level of service. Alex takes the token, running a thumb over the fine engravings. A simple but useful gesture. The old man inclines his head. I look forward to our future dealings, Lord Alex. Alex pockets the token without a word, rising from his seat. Varkas, ever the disciplined warrior, falls in step beside him, his posture straight and unwavering, fully embracing his role as a knight. Liz, however, keeps glancing between Alex and Varkas, her expression tense as if she wants to speak but hesitates. Her small hands clutch at the hem of her worn cloak, her brows furrowed in deep thought. Varkas notices and, without breaking stride, chuckles softly. Don't worry, he says, his voice unusually gentle. Once we reach the inn, you'll be surprised. His tone reassures her, but it only makes her more restless. She fidgets as they weave through the streets, her anxious energy almost palpable. By the time they arrive at the inn, Liz barely manages to hold herself together. But the moment she steps inside and her eyes land on a familiar figure, all restraint shatters. Be big brother, she cries, her voice breaking. The boy, barely 15 but already carrying himself with the quiet wariness of someone forced to grow up too soon, turns sharply at her voice. His dark eyes widen in shock as Liz rushes forward and throws herself at him, clutching his tunic tightly. Big brother, why are you here? She sobs. What about that old noble? Nikon instinctively wraps his arms around her, his expression softening. He ruffles her hair, but his gaze quickly sharpens when he notices the two figures standing behind her. Alex and Varkas, their human disguises still in place. His grip on Liz tightens. Who are they? He demands, his voice cautious. Why are you with them? Liz, still sniffling, glances back at Alex and Varkas. She opens her mouth, But before she can explain, Varkas sighs. "Relax, kid," he says, a bit amused. Then, with a casual wave of his hand, his disguise vanishes. His true form, a towering, armored beast of war, emerges in full view. Alex follows suit, his eyes gleaming with faint amusement as his human illusion dissipates, revealing his true, monstrous presence. Nikon's entire body tenses for a split second. But then, he exhales, his shoulders sagging in sheer relief. "Oh, thank the ancestors," he mutters, rubbing his face. Lys pulls away slightly, wiping her teary eyes before looking up at her brother. "Big brother, how did you escape your master?" Nikon's expression darkens slightly, but he shakes his head. "I didn't escape." His voice lowers. "It was those monsters, the ones that look like shadows. They killed all the guards in the mansion and took me with them." Varkas folds his arms, nodding. "Kid, you should be thanking His Majesty." He gestures toward Alex. "Those monsters are his subordinates." Nikon's eyes widen slightly as he turns to Alex, his posture stiffening. He hesitates before bowing his head. "Thank you, Your Majesty." He swallows hard before asking, "Are you our new master?" Chapter 57. Noctaris City. Alex chuckles, shaking his head. "Not a new master." His golden eyes glimmer with something unreadable. "Starting today, you're no longer slaves. You're already citizens of my kingdom." Lys gasps, her small hands clutching at her chest. "Sir, are you really a king?" she asks, her voice hushed with shock. She hesitates before adding in a quieter voice, "I thought you just liked being called Your Majesty." Varkas lets out a deep laugh, while Alex merely smirks. "I don't need to pretend," he says smoothly. "You'll understand soon enough." Nikon hesitates before nodding slowly. "Your Majesty, thank you for not seeing us as slaves," he says, his voice steady but laced with uncertainty. "But as long as we have the slave mark, we will always be servants." Alex's gaze sharpens. "Come here. Let me take a look." Nikon glances at Lys, who gives him an encouraging nod. Taking a deep breath, he steps forward and tilts his head slightly, exposing the slave mark on his neck. The intricate black seal pulses faintly, a constant reminder of his status. Alex examines it closely, his eyes narrowing. Without hesitation, he raises a hand and channels a Tier 4 dispelling spell. A faint golden light envelopes the mark, but the moment the spell touches it, the light flickers and shatters like fragile glass. Nothing changes. Alex exhales through his nose, his expression unreadable. "That's interesting." Nikon stiffens. "Your Majesty?" Alex pulls back, tapping a finger against his arm in thought. As a player, he isn't restricted by class limitations. He can use any skill or spell as long as he meets the stat requirements. And his jack-of-all-trades build gives him access to a vast range of abilities. But this means the slave mark isn't something a standard dispel can remove. He meets Nikon's wary gaze and offers a calm smile. "I'll dispel it once we reach my home." Lys visibly brightens, hope flickering in her eyes. Nikon, however, remains skeptical. He doesn't doubt Alex's power. The man radiates an overwhelming presence, but he knows how strong the slave mark's binding magic is. Still, he doesn't argue. Nikon looks skeptical but doesn't voice his doubt. Instead, he nods. "Understood." Lys, however, clings to his sleeve. "Really?" she whispers, almost afraid to hope. Alex just smirks. "I don't make empty promises." After a brief pause, he glances at Varkas. "Change of plans. We're leaving now. I've already done what I came here for." Varkas nods without question. "I'll prepare the carriage." Alex glances around the dimly lit inn. "I came here for the auction. Now that it's done, there's no reason to stay." Nikon exchanges a glance with Lys before straightening his back. "Then, we'll follow you." Alex's smirk deepens. "Of course you will." Once they are far enough from the city, Alex steps out of the carriage and places a hand on its side. A faint pulse of magic ripples outward, and in an instant, the entire carriage begins to shift. The sturdy wooden wheels retract, the frame expands slightly, and shimmering golden runes light up along its edges. Then, with a soft hum, the carriage lifts off the ground. Liss gasps, clutching Nikon's arm as the entire vehicle rises smoothly into the air. Nikon's eyes widen, his grip tightening on the seat. He has seen many things in his life, but a flying carriage? This is beyond anything he ever imagined. As the carriage gains altitude, the transformation completes. The interior expands far beyond what should be possible, turning into a spacious, luxurious chamber. Plush seats, polished wooden panels, and a massive crystal-clear window stretching across one side offer an unobstructed view of the sky. Liss practically presses her face against the window, her tail flicking excitedly. "Wow, Your Majesty, are you some kind of god?" she blurts out, eyes gleaming with awe. Alex laughs, shaking his head. "I'm not a god. I'm just like you." Nikon stares at him, deadpan. "A normal monster?" He silently glances around the lavish flying carriage before looking back at Alex. "Normal monster, my ass." He doesn't voice his thoughts, but deep down, he knows this is no ordinary being. Even the most powerful nobles of the Ralthian kingdom couldn't compare. If they were kings in their own right, then in front of Alex, they were nothing more than commoners. The carriage soars through the sky, crossing vast landscapes in mere hours. Forests, rivers, and mountains blur beneath them, and the air itself feels different, purer, more alive. Then, just as the sun begins to dip below the horizon, they see it. A city unlike any other. Towering black walls stretch endlessly, adorned with massive golden banners that shimmer in the fading sunlight. A vast network of bridges and spires rises above the grand cityscape, seamlessly blending ancient architecture with modern advancements. Floating platforms drift lazily in the air, powered by unseen forces. At the heart of it all stands an enormous palace, its dark obsidian-like structure crowned with glowing runes that pulse with power. Alex leans forward slightly, his golden eyes reflecting the breathtaking sight. "Welcome," he says, his voice carrying a quiet pride. "This is Noctaris, the capital of my kingdom." Liss grips Nikon's arm even tighter. "It's beautiful," she breathes, unable to tear her eyes away. Nikon swallows, still trying to process everything. "Your Majesty, may I know the name of your kingdom?" he asks hesitantly. Alex smirks. "Erevaris, the eternal sovereignty." Silence fills the carriage as they take in the name. It carries weight, power, and an undeniable sense of grandeur. Nikon exhales slowly. "So this is the power of a true king." Inside a dimly lit chamber deep within the palace, an eerie atmosphere lingers in the air. Strange contraptions line the walls, some glowing with unknown energy, others pulsing with dark magic. The room hums faintly, as if alive. Liss clings to Nikon's sleeve, her tail bristling. "I don't like this place," she whispers, eyes darting around. Varkas grimaces, folding his arms. "Your Majesty, is this Lord Magnius' domain?" Alex leans casually against a nearby table, unfazed. "It is." Chapter 58, Magnius. Varkas mutters under his breath, clearly uncomfortable. He rarely speaks about other subordinates unless they're exceptional, and in Alex's ranks, only those above level 700 earn his acknowledgement. Magnius is one of them. A level 800 plus necromancer, Magnius is known for his relentless experimentation. It doesn't matter if it's a human, a unique monster, or any being with intelligence. If they interest him, he studies them. His methods are unconventional. Some would call them horrific. But to Alex, Magnius is one of his most valuable assets. It was normal for NPCs in games to have their own thoughts, to interact with players as if they were real. But Magnius took that concept further. His inventions played a critical role in Alex's victories against other players. Though, admittedly, some of those creations were rather twisted. The room is unnervingly silent. Though once bustling with strange undead assisting Magnius in his research, it now stands eerily empty. Dust coats the massive shelves of tomes, and the flickering green runes on the walls pulse weakly, like a heartbeat slowing to a stop. The absence of life, or rather unlife, is almost unsettling. Varkas exhales sharply. Your Majesty, you're not planning to experiment on them, are you? His tone is laced with hesitation, as if he's afraid of the answer. Alex snorts. Do I look like a twisted person to you? Varkas doesn't answer immediately. Alex narrows his eyes. Really? That long of a pause? Varkas clears his throat. It's just, this is Lord Magnus we're talking about. Exactly, Alex says smoothly. And before his death, Magnus created a Tier 8 spell. One capable of destroying any contract, including slave marks. He should have stored it in a spellbound crystal somewhere in here. Nikon blinks. A Tier 8 spell? He isn't well versed in high-level magic. But even he knows that anything above Tier 4 is practically legendary in Ralthian Kingdom. Lissa's eyes dart around the room, taking in the eerie glow of the runes and the strange objects scattered across the tables. Some look like mechanical limbs fused with bones. Others resemble glass containers filled with swirling, dark mist. Everything looks fragile and dangerous, but she doesn't reach out to touch anything, just in case. Nikon stands beside her, arms crossed. His brows furrow as he studies a suspended metal cage near the ceiling. What even is all this? He mutters under his breath. Liz tugs on his sleeve, her voice hushed. It's so weird. Some of these things look alive. She shudders slightly, eyeing a severed hand encased in a glass tube. The fingers twitch every few seconds as if trying to grasp something. Don't stare too long, Nikon warns. You don't want to catch a curse. Liz squeaks and quickly looks away. Meanwhile, Alex and Varkas move deeper into the chamber. Varkas pulls open a heavy drawer, his movements careful but practiced. Inside, neatly stacked crystals glow with faint hues. Reds, blues, greens. But none match the signature dark violet of a spellbound crystal capable of holding Tier 8 magic. Varkas exhales sharply. Nothing. Lord Magnus must have stored it somewhere more secure. Alex doesn't respond immediately. Instead, he steps toward a tall, black cabinet at the far end of the room. Unlike the rest of the furniture, it's free of dust, the runes lining its edges still pulsing with faint energy. Alex stops in front of the black cabinet, tilting his head slightly as he studies it. Then, as if recalling something, he chuckles. Oh, I remember now, he says, his voice carrying a hint of amusement. Magnus did reveal to me his secret door and how to open it. Without further explanation, he presses his palm against a faintly glowing rune on the cabinet's surface. The moment his skin makes contact, a sharp pulse of energy surges through the air. A deep, mechanical click echoes through the chamber. Liz flinches at the sudden noise but doesn't say anything. Nikon, standing rigid beside her, watches silently, his fists clenched at his sides. The runes on the cabinet begin shifting, rearranging themselves in a slow, deliberate pattern. Then, with another resonating click, the entire back panel of the cabinet slides downward, revealing a hidden passage beyond. A narrow staircase spirals downward into darkness, an ominous green glow faintly illuminating the descent. Alex steps forward, peering down the spiraling staircase with an intrigued expression. The eerie green glow flickers against the stone walls, casting long shadows that dance with every small movement. Let's go in, Alex says, his tone casual yet firm. Then he glances at Varkan. Protect the children. Varkas straightens. Yes, Your Majesty. Without hesitation, he moves behind Liz and Nikon, positioning himself to shield them from any potential danger. The children remain silent, watching everything with wide eyes but making no complaints. Alex leads the way down, his footsteps echoing in the confined space. As they descend, the air grows colder, tinged with the faint scent of magic and metal. When they finally step into the hidden chamber, Alex can't help but smirk. The room is vast, larger than expected, stretching far beyond what should be physically possible underground. The walls are lined with half-finished contraptions, glowing runes scribbled hastily onto parchments pinned to workbenches, and towering glass containers filled with suspended, incomplete experiments. Strange skeletal constructs, missing limbs or frozen in various stages of assembly, rest on heavy metal tables. Alex whistles, impressed. Looks like Magnius was busy. Varkas scans the room, his expression filled with amazement. What are these? I can feel a sense of dread from these items. Alex stepping toward a table where an unfinished automaton rests, its exposed core pulsing weakly. But these are new. Incomplete, yes, but still filled with potential. Varkas said, so many of these creations, some of them are alive in a way that shouldn't be possible. Alex said, Magnius was a genius. His work was always pushing boundaries, and all these unfinished pieces, they're a testament to his brilliance. He steps closer to an intricately designed creature, its limbs connected by thin strands of glowing energy, but it's motionless for now. None of these are harmful. Not yet, at least, but they hold untapped potential. I can't wait to revive him and make him continue all these masterpieces. His voice drops, almost dreamily, as he gazes at the array of creations. Chapter 59. The slave mark is gone. Varkas glances at Alex, still uncomfortable with the surroundings, but trying to mask his concerns. Lord Magnius is a gem in His Majesty's kingdom. His genius is unparalleled. Alex smirks, his eyes lighting up with anticipation. Yes, he is, and I'm going to make sure he continues his work. He straightens up, his tone turning sharp and focused. Now let's find that spellbound crystal. It has to be here somewhere. Varkas nods and begins scanning the room again, his sharp eyes sweeping across the various workstations and the strange array of creations. If it's here, it's likely hidden in one of these more secure locations, he mutters, walking towards a stack of metal crates in the corner. Alex moves toward a high shelf where a few scrolls are tucked away, checking for any sign of the crystal. The soft hum of the room seems to grow louder with the anticipation of finding the coveted object. I know it's here, Alex murmurs to himself, his fingers brushing over the ancient, leather-bound tomes. Magnius wouldn't leave it just lying around. Varkas pauses, turning towards a large stone pedestal in the center of the room. Resting atop it is a dusty, ornate box, its intricate design unlike anything else in the chamber. He walks over slowly, every step measured as if expecting the box to react to his proximity. I think this might be it, Varkas says, his voice steady but with a trace of uncertainty. He reaches out and carefully opens the box, revealing a single, pulsating crystal. Its dark violet glow stands in stark contrast to the dim green light around them. Alex's eyes lock onto the crystal as Varkas carefully lifts it from the box. The faint violet glow pulses rhythmically, as if responding to the energy in the room. He walks toward the center of the chamber, the crystal held delicately in his hands. Yes, this is it, Alex mutters, his voice sharp with anticipation. He turns to Lys and Nikon, who are still standing silently near Varkan, their eyes wide with curiosity and confusion. The atmosphere around them feels heavy, almost oppressive, as if the air itself is thick with the power contained within the crystal. Alex approaches them slowly, his expression steady but focused. Lys and Nikon, come close to me, he calls, his voice calm yet authoritative. Lys and Nikon exchange nervous glances before stepping forward. Lys hesitates for a moment, her eyes flicking nervously between Alex and the ominous glow of the crystal, but she follows Nikon without a word. Stand right there, Alex orders, pointing to a spot in front of him. He holds the crystal out in front of him, the dark violet light now casting eerie shadows on the walls. No matter what happens, don't move. Don't speak. Don't do anything. Just stand and trust me. Lys and Nikon stand where Alex directed them, their bodies tense with uncertainty. They glance at each other, but neither of them speaks. The air is thick with the weight of Alex's command, and the strange, pulsating glow of the spellbound crystal seems to draw them in. Do you understand? Alex asks, his tone more firm now. Nikon nods quickly, his heart racing. Yes, Your Majesty, he says, though there's a slight tremor in his voice. Lys simply gives a stiff nod, eyes darting nervously between the crystal and Alex. Alex smiles slightly, a reassuring but enigmatic look on his face. Good. Now stay still. He holds the crystal in both hands, his fingers wrapping around it carefully. The violet light intensifies, swirling in a mesmerizing pattern, and a faint hum fills the chamber. The temperature drops, and a shiver runs down Lys's spine as she feels the magic in the air. Alex raises the crystal slowly, bringing it closer to Lys and Nikon's necks, where the unmistakable mark of their former enslavement rests. Dark, twisted symbols burned into their flesh. The runes on the crystal begin to glow more brightly, responding to the presence of the slave marks. Alex murmurs softly under his breath, his eyes locked onto the marks on their necks. The room feels still, save for the eerie hum of the crystal and the rhythmic pulse of energy radiating from it. Hold your breath, Alex says quietly. Lys and Nikon exchange a glance, then instinctively close their eyes. With a final, fluid motion, Alex presses the crystal gently but firmly to the base of their necks. The crystal pulses once, twice, and then a sharp crack echoes through the room. It sounds like glass shattering, loud, sudden, and almost violent. Lys gasps, her fingers instinctively reaching for her neck. But there's no pain, only a strange, overwhelming sensation of release, as though something oppressive has been ripped away. The mark on her skin, once a twisted black symbol of her binding, shatters like glass, leaving behind only smooth, unblemished flesh. The same happens to Nikon, his mark breaking away as if it was never there to begin with. The air feels lighter now, the oppressive weight lifting from them both. Lys lets out a shaky breath, her eyes wide as she looks at Alex. Is it gone? She asks, her voice barely above a whisper, still in disbelief. Alex nods slowly, a rare moment of satisfaction crossing his face. It's gone. You're free. Lys and Nikon stare at Alex, their expressions a mixture of awe and disbelief. The weight they had carried for so long, the branding of slavery, is gone. Truly gone. A second passes before the realization fully sinks in, and then, as if their legs can no longer hold them, both children kneel on the cold stone floor. Nikon bows his head deeply. Thank you for giving us this freedom, Your Majesty. His voice is steady, but there's raw emotion beneath it. Lys follows his lead, her small hands clenching into fists as she tries to suppress the tears welling up in her eyes. She wants to say something, but the lump in her throat keeps her silent. Chapter 60. Getting Adopted. Alex crosses his arms, gazing down at them with an unreadable expression. Don't mention it. His voice is calm, yet there's a weight to it. His gaze softens slightly as he tilts his head. So what are you two going to do now? Do you know where your tribes are located? Lys's head snaps up, her expression suddenly clouding. The question strikes deep, and the joy of freedom is quickly overshadowed by a painful memory. She lowers her gaze again, her voice barely above a whisper. We don't know. The humans attacked our home. They either kidnapped or killed our people. We were separated from everyone when they took us away. Nikon's jaw tightens. That's how we became slaves. The ones they didn't kill, they sold. His fists clench at his sides, a flicker of anger flashing in his usually composed expression. A heavy silence falls over the room. Even Varkas, who had been standing quietly at Alex's side, exhales sharply. His eyes darken with something unspoken. Then suddenly he steps forward. Your Majesty, he says, his voice firm. I want to adopt these two. Lys and Nikon freeze. Alex blinks, then throws his head back with a short, amused laugh. Varkas, don't ask me. He gestures toward the children with a smirk. Ask them if they want to. I know I can't replace your family, he says, his voice quieter now, more personal. But I can give you a home, protection, and a future where you don't have to worry about being taken again. He looks between them, his golden eyes unwavering. If you want that, I'll take responsibility for you both. Lys and Nikon exchange glances. It's not an easy decision. Their families, their tribes, if any of them survived, they should be searching for them. But the painful truth is that they don't know where to begin. They don't even know if their people are still alive. Nikon takes a deep breath, his fists still clenched. His whole life, he has dreamed of finding his people, of avenging those who were taken and protecting what little he has left. His sister. He looks up at Varkan, his golden eyes searching for something. Maybe reassurance, maybe certainty. Will you teach me? Nikon asks, his voice quieter now but still firm. If I become your son, will you make me strong enough to never lose again? Varkas's expression doesn't change, but there's something different in his gaze. He steps forward, placing a heavy hand on Nikon's shoulder. I will. But strength isn't just about swinging a sword or taking revenge. If you choose this path, you'll train until your bones ache, until you're exhausted beyond belief. You'll learn discipline, patience, and control. Strength is nothing without the wisdom to wield it. Nikon hesitates for only a moment before nodding. I understand. I'll do it. Then, almost shyly, he adds, Father. Lys gasps softly, her eyes darting between Nikon and Varkan. For a second, Varkan seems frozen. Then he exhales through his nose, shaking his head with a quiet chuckle. Then prepare yourself, boy. You've just chosen the hardest path of all. Nikon turns to Lys, his expression softer now. Little sister, do you not want to get adopted? His voice is gentle, but there's a hint of concern beneath it. Lys looks down at her hands, twisting her fingers together. For a moment, she stays quiet, her small brows furrowed in thought. Then, she peeks up at Nikon before glancing toward Varkan. Her voice comes out small, almost hesitant. Of course, I want to have a father. She shifts on her feet, her cheeks turning slightly pink as she adds, I just never thought I would. Varkas watches her carefully, his golden eyes unreadable. Then, with a sigh, he kneels before her, lowering himself to her level. Then from today onward, you have one. His tone is firm but not unkind. No one will take you away again. Lys's eyes widen, her lips pressed together as if holding back tears. Then slowly she nods. Okay, Father. A small, warm smile tugs at Varkan's lips, barely noticeable. He reaches out and ruffles her hair, making her scrunch up her nose in protest. Alex, watching the exchange, shakes his head with a smirk. Well, that's settled, then. Varkan, you've got 2 new kids. Try not to scare them off with your strict training on the first day. Lys giggles softly, while Nikon exhales, his tense posture finally easing. Alex glances at them once more before nodding toward Varkan. You can go now. Get them settled in. Familiarize them with your home. Varkas places a hand on each of their shoulders, giving a small nod of gratitude. Understood. Thank you, Your Majesty. He turns to Lys and Nikon. Come, you two. Lys hesitates for a moment, casting one last look at Alex before following Nikon and Varkan out of the chamber. As the heavy doors close behind them, Alex lets out a quiet breath, his sharp eyes scanning the dimly lit room once more. He lingers for a few minutes, moving between shelves, inspecting old tomes, and checking the intricate devices scattered across the tables. If Magnus left anything else of value here, it would be hidden well. But after another careful sweep, he finds nothing useful. Just broken artifacts, half-finished projects, and worn-out scrolls that crumble at his touch. Nothing can be useful. Alex mutters, straightening up. There's no point in wasting more time here. With that, he steps out of the chamber, making his way back to his private quarters. The moment he enters, the tension in his shoulders eases slightly. He removes his coat, tossing it onto a nearby chair before sinking into a comfortable seat. Finally, a moment to relax. The Eldoria city is heavy with unease. The usual lively streets are subdued, the air thick with whispers and tension. Shopkeepers glance around warily, their voices hushed as they speak to their customers. Soldiers patrol in higher numbers than usual, their presence a clear sign that something is wrong.